Okay, so from Buenos Aires, we're going to go to the Lower East Side. Problems everywhere. Professor Thomas Abdallah was the faculty advisor, and Chris will give us this presentation. Please welcome him.
Thank you. Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Chris Golden. I'm here to present on our recommendations to improve the long-term sustainability of the Two Bridges waterfront community. Our client for this project was the Two Bridges Neighborhood Council. They're a nonprofit organization that advocates on behalf of their constituents for a number of issues that are affecting this community. Their service area is comprised of much of the Lower East Side of Manhattan. This is a community that's facing a number of issues. More than 30% of this area lives below the poverty line. More than 80% of these residents live on a low to moderate income in some form of housing subsidy. Air quality is a legitimate concern in this area, given that they're located so close to the FDR Drive, both Manhattan and Brooklyn bridges, and there's an older building stock in this area. Hurricane Sandy really exposed a lot of the vulnerabilities to this area for obvious reasons if you've lived here in the city. And more than a third of this area is below an elevation of 10 feet or less. And it was through establishing a close relationship with our client that we were really able to better understand these issues. And we realized, just given the constraints of the project in terms of time and the capabilities of our client organization, that we weren't necessarily going to reduce the widespread impacts of another Hurricane Sandy, but we did maintain the capabilities to help address some of the issues that they face, including some climate risks such as increased precipitation. And it was around discussing these issues, we had a connection with our client around green infrastructure and established our mission, which is to develop a series of green infrastructure demonstration projects to help push back against a lot of the issues this community is facing, knowing that the benefits of green infrastructure can not only mitigate flooding, but also improve air quality and improve access to green space. And we wanted to make sure that all of these projects were feasible, fundable, and scalable. Feasible being capable of being managed within the capabilities of our client organization. Fundable, knowing that if there isn't funding available or easily attainable, the projects aren't likely to be successful. And scalable, capable of being replicated elsewhere throughout the community and to highlight some of the benefits that green infrastructure can provide. So we started our project essentially by performing a comprehensive analysis of this neighborhood using GIS to better understand the land use and get some data context around our problem, which ultimately results in a deliverable for our client to provide them with relevant data to help better inform their decisions in prioritizing their sustainability efforts. And like I said, there was a lot of vulnerabilities to this area. It also helped us understand what areas are most vulnerable, because even though not every storm is going to be a Hurricane Sandy type event, regular flooding is a problem in this area. After each rain event, there is an elevated number of calls to the city's 311 system reporting issues with flooding and sewer backup issues. So an obvious area to focus on was buildings. It represents a large category of the land use of this area, and we know that using green infrastructure can not only reduce flooding but help improve even energy efficiency in buildings. And that's very critical to this area in terms of maintaining and the level of affordable housing available to the residents. And so we looked at techniques such as green roofs and green walls and energy efficiency measures. And ultimately, we are recommending a variety of interventions for the properties that are under direct ownership of our client. At 80 and 82 Rutgers Slip, the Two Bridges Neighborhood Council owns 2 multifamily buildings with more than 300 units that are dedicated to housing families living on a low to moderate income. And as I said, we also want to make sure that there's funding available for these projects. So one recommendation, such as a green roof that is included in our paper, can receive funding through the city's green roof tax abatement program. And while we were evaluating these buildings, we also looked at non-green infrastructure opportunities, including energy efficiency, and some money that's having them tap into some money that's available through HUD to improve the weatherization of the building, and also how they can best spend some of their post-Sandy disaster recovery funding, including maybe relocating their utilities above base flood elevation. Next, we were really intrigued by the amount of impervious surface coverage in this area. More than 30% of the area is covered by streets, sidewalks, or otherwise paved areas. And we really wanted to take a look at how we could reduce some of that impervious surface coverage. And looking at techniques such as pervious concrete, permeable pavers, and porous asphalt. And again, on the property that is owned and managed directly by our client, we found a substantial amount of impervious surface coverage that eventually in the near future is going to need to be upgraded and replaced, and we're recommending that they do that using a porous concrete material, not only for its benefits of reducing potential runoff, but it's more of a durable material and possesses higher reflectivity properties that helps it reduce some of the solar radiation that would normally be absorbed by asphalt and contribute to issues like urban heat island. And lastly, we were really intrigued at taking a look at parks and playground space, not only for the opportunities to include green infrastructure, but knowing that these are areas where the public congregates and has access to, as opposed to even private buildings. We looked at measures such as bioswales and rain gardens. And when looking at the areas in which we could apply these techniques, we focused on the area's schools. The area has 9 public schools, 2 of which were inundated during Hurricane Sandy. And in addition to researching all of our funding, we found a program that ultimately we're recommending that the neighborhood council and the school apply for, which is the city's Schoolyards to Playgrounds program, where they can take a school that is eligible, like this one, because it is located in a lower income area and meets the requirements of being located in a combined sewer shed and has the surface area needing to meet eligibility, and take underutilized, closed off during the school year, covered by impervious surface, and transform it into an area that is accessible by the entire community and include green infrastructure elements to, again, not only reduce flooding, but using natural elements help contribute to improving air quality and increasing access to green space. In the program, schools have been successful in receiving anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000 in funding, and one project has been successful enough to remove more than 500,000 gallons of stormwater runoff each year. But most importantly, perhaps, this is the school where our client hosts their after-school science education programs. So it's not about just adding green infrastructure, it's also about educating this community and creating awareness as to how green infrastructure can help improve their lives, knowing that green infrastructure can help reduce or improve air quality in an area with the second highest rate of asthma cases in all of New York City, reduce the amount of flooding in an area that lies lower than its surroundings, and increase access to green space in an area with little of it. And I believe that our projects, again, are feasible. Our client has the capabilities to manage and understand and advocate for these projects. We've identified as much as $3.3 million in available funding and credits. And also there is an opportunity to, again, educate and advocate to get these projects replicated elsewhere in the community so that these projects serve as a demonstration in how this could be scaled up to receive those benefits at large. Thank you.
for Chris. Yes.
Were there any language barrier issues, just given the site?
Absolutely. The neighborhood is 58% Asian. That's the largest demographic, of which they speak 6 different dialects of Chinese. So not only is that an issue for communicating the benefits of green infrastructure, but it's a barrier for our client in general to communicate their, get their mission across.
Other questions for Chris? One more here.
You talk about reducing stormwater runoff. Where does the runoff end up?
The Lower East Side is in a combined sewer shed. There are 4 CSO outfalls located across that section of the East River. So whenever the system is inundated, it tips over directly on the east side of the FDR, and it's not capable when it's not capable of being pumped to the Newtown Creek wastewater treatment plant.
One more question? No, we're done. Okay, Chris.
Thank you.